Oh, home on the range.
Where the deer and the antelope play.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, fuck yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Backlog Banter. I'm your boy, Abram, joined as usual by Tucker Hazel. And we're starting out with a little bit of a song and dance because this is Tucker the Jocular episode.
Oh, wow, really?
We are back for BLB, and we have, praise the Lord, a Tucker Hazel who is
Games.
playing so many fucking games I can't possibly keep up, but I got some games of my own. And if you want to talk to us about the games you play, join our Discord, like the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel. You know what to do.
Yep,
Tucker,
I do. Don't worry, I already did all those things. You don't have to remind me twice.
Just don't call me late to dinner. Tucker, I've been playing a lot of games. You have too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn on my ring light because I want you to see my fucking porous face as we talk about all these games.
Well, also because we just didn't really set up properly. You just kind of jumped into it. So we're
No,
still,
but
you know
what?
this is an on the fly episode.
You have me singing "Home on the Range." It just gets me raring to go. You know.
Yeah, so true.
Tucker, I want you to start me out because I know you got way more games than I do this week.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing: is what's interesting about this week is I've got a lot of games that I didn't play for very long, but I think in that small amount of time, I found very interesting things to discuss with you, and we haven't really gone over many of these.
No.
And there's also a lot of games that we both played between episodes.
Betwixt,
that we didn't really get a chance to talk about. I don't know how many of those we want to touch on here, but oh lord, where are we starting? God.
Now Chucker's paralyzed by choice because when I go on backlogged, I basically only go on backlogged when I beat a game so I can put on my list.
Yeah,
but whenever
so like once every 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, and so whenever I do, I just click on the activities tab to see like what the fuck my friends are up to. Yeah. Basically, it's just you and Benjamin Hayho.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know he had backlog. I'll follow him.
I convinced him to get backlog. Now he uses it all the time.
Yeah.
Because he plays more games than both of us combined.
I think it's a challenge.
And so I was like, Jesus H Christ. I don't know what the H stands for. I don't know. But I was like, Tucker Hazel's been playing a lot of interesting games. So
what does the H stand for? And Jesus H Christ. Oh, we're doing a little research here.
Yeah, a little research to start the episode.
Hebrew? I don't know. Well, we'll figure that out. All right. We'll figure it out later.
I don't think his whole name is Jesus Hebrew Christ. But if you don't know where to start, I want to start you in a place.
Oh, okay.
Let's start you with my 3DS. Because there's a situation unfolding here.
Friendship has ended with Abram Buhner. New best friend is Abram Buhner's 3DS.
Yeah, so when I was over in Ye Olde, Nebraska, I had to change my flight because the airfare right now in the year of our Lord 2022 is so fucking terrible.
Yeah.
So I had to change my flight. Basically, the effect of that is Tucker playing Robobot on my 3DS couldn't finish before I left. So I just said, look.
Well, I could have.
Yep, it doesn't matter. The point is you didn't. I was like, look, I trust you with my fucking bank account, social security number, all this information. I'll trust you with my 3DS. So Tucker has my 3DS.
Have I seen your social security number? I probably have.
I don't think. What we do is every year on each of our birthdays we trade one number.
Sure. Oh, puzzle us together.
but you have my 3DS. You still have it. I forgot to ever give you my address, my school address to send it back to. So you've just been dicking around playing games, and I know that you've been playing a lot of random shit because I had a lot of random shit between my 3DS, what's downloaded on my 3DS, and my redownloadable account. So Tucker, take it away.
Let's take it away to the game that you played a couple months ago that you told me that I needed to try when I had your 3DS, which was Liberation Maiden, a game produced by Grasshopper Manufacture. That's their full legal name. I don't know why. It sounds like a mistranslation, but they just have they've never changed it.
Suda51 studio.
Yes, and he directed this game, I believe.
I believe so.
And it's a it's Star Fox off rails. It's like a Star Fox off all range mission, and there's 5 levels. And you play as the president of Japan. An attractive anime lady.
Well, here's the thing, Tucker. I need to intercede for a second there because the game doesn't explain this well. I think this is because there's a visual novel sequel to this game, which is very weird.
Really?
Yeah, on PS3. But you actually play as the president's daughter. The president is killed in the invasion.
Yeah, so you become the president.
Sure.
So you are the president.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's actually a great
It's
point.
also explained in the opening cutscene of the game.
I don't know how to read.
In full English voice acting. Do you know how to hear? And this attractive young anime lady with gratuitous shots of her ass rides around in basically a Gundam flying mech. And you shoot things called spikes. What are they? What's the lore of this world? It's really unclear. It's so over-the-top anime horseshit that they just throw you right into this. And they're like, Madam President, go take out the lesser spike. And you're like, huh? Why are these giant nails in the ground?
Right.
I don't know. But so you basically just take out enemies by rubbing your stylus over the screen until your reticle highlights them. You release your missiles at them, and then you do that for a while.
Yeah.
And I think this game is impressive. Technically, it looks pretty good for a 3DS game. There's a lot of particle effects. It's got very few, but some animated cutscenes that look like a high production value anime.
Yeah.
And I think that if it was something that was bigger budget and on a more powerful console and frankly with different controls, I think I would care more. But as it stands, I'm impressed by it, but I don't think it really sells itself enough. It's a very bite-sized experience, and I realize that's intentional. Do you know what was the label of those few?
It was the Guild series, Guild 01, Guild 02.
Yes. It was part of that label. It's intended to be very small, just like an artistic expression on the Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just really was not impressed by it because I don't think I found the combat to be pretty mindless. I found a lot of the mechanics to not be explained very well. And it is only 5 stages, which is it feels like it ends right as things are about to get ramped up.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I think that it's the Guild games are basically as close as you're ever going to get to game jam games from famous creators being on a platform like 3DS.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool about them to me. The game is it was either $5 or $8. I bought it literally like 7 years ago, so I don't remember how much money it was. Yeah, this was like I want to say like 2012 or 2013 it came to 3DS.
Yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm. And so in the context of that, I just think it's the spectacle of it is quite impressive, and I like the core idea of risk and reward of charge up your shot, but charging the shot removes your shield. It's not especially complex.
That's a very interesting idea, but I never really felt like that had to be managed because they recharge so fast, and you're going through your missiles / shields so fast that everything's just I'm firing and then I'm releasing and then charge back up. So they're not really like I have to focus on this meter and watch it go up and down and make sure that I've got shield when the missiles are coming at me. No, there's missiles always coming at you. You're always firing missiles.
Right.
Your shield / missile meter is always somewhere in the middle, and it kind of felt like that mechanic was interesting in concept, but was never needed in the actual combat of the game.
No, I think you're right, but to be totally frank with you, I just have different expectations for a game like this that costs a single dollar amount and you play in 45 minutes. So. In that context, I enjoy it, and I also just like Suda's catalog. So I think it's just this cool expression.
First Suda game I've ever beaten.
It's this cool expression of a genre I really like from a creator I really like, and that's basically as far as I take it.
For sure, no, absolutely.
No, but I think you're right. I think it's almost the whole fucking dream buffet thing again. Of if you took this back out to its natural conclusion, what would it be? Would it be more compelling, or whatever? And my feeling is that. I don't really want Suda spending 3 years making Liberation Maiden. I want him to spend.
What if it was his greatest game, though? I mean, I think it has potential, and I think that's again kind of like Dream Buffet. I wish that potential was realized because as it stands, it feels like the nugget of an idea.
Yeah, sure.
That could have it could have some breading, could have some spice, could get a little chicken nugget.
Yeah, a little fucking dip in honey mustard barbecue sauce on the side.
Oh, dog. Now, do you want me to keep going? I got more 3DS games to talk about.
Yeah, just kick them at me.
I also played Xscape, which is a DSiWare game, which is a sequel to the Game Boy game X. Yes. And this game gives me a headache. I don't think it controls well. It's fucking strange that they made it. Very glad that they made it. But I don't think this is a good game at all.
Yeah, X is a historical curio for me because what's cool about it is that it is ostensibly spiritually a Star Fox game. I mean, Dylan Cuthbert made it. Who
it was
made
the tech that X ran on is what allowed them to make Star Fox later down the line.
Yeah. Dylan Cuthbert makes X, and I was like, holy fucking Christ, how did you do that? Come make Star Fox or Starwing, depending on where you live. And then
Lilac Wars.
Or Lilac Wars is the N6. I've had this conversation ad nauseum with my friends in the UK. Their names for Star Fox suck. Ours are better. But the point is, X from that lens, I think, is worth owning if you're interested in Star Fox, if you're interested in Nintendo history. As far as DSiWare goes, I remember when I was a kid and DSiWare was hopping. Yeah. There really were not that many games for Nintendo. So
it wasn't hopping.
It really wasn't, to be honest with you. So I think from the perspective of what the game is, it's cool to have. Yeah. And from the perspective of a game that you play, I don't care about it at all.
Yeah, the problem is that it's trying to recreate like a Vectrex early arcade visual style where everything is sort of rasterized just based around lines, and the world like loops, but you can't really tell that it's looping, and you're going around these planets collecting energy cores to open up the next portal to the next planet.
Yeah.
And these overworld sections, they really do not control very well because whatever ship or thing you're controlling has like 2 speeds, which are either barely moving at all and going, and then your turning speed is so fucking slow that trying to aim at something, you go, oh, and then your shot will go right by them. Right. God damn it. And then each of the speeds, if they were just tweaked, I think this game would control well. But as it stands, you're always slipping and sliding and accidentally shooting off to the side. Yeah. And going, shit. And like blasting past something. Oh, gotta go back. And that really makes the game tedious, and it doesn't feel like there's that much going on in the game. I don't think it's a pretty long game. I tried my damnedest looking it up. There's no HLTB for this. There's no walkthroughs of this game. There's no full playthroughs on YouTube. As far as I know, no one's ever beaten this game.
Well, Tucker, here's the thing. If you look it up and you go to like press releases from people who were playing the game when it was new, they say it's like an 8-hour game.
Oh, okay.
Xscape has a reputation for being one of the most fully formed games on DSiWare. Like, I think also the Nintendo Life reviews.
Fully length.
Let's
not say fully formed.
Well, I think the thing about it is like I just didn't want to put in the time to understand the controls, because I do have friends that I work with who are like, Xscape is fucking cool, and there's people online who are like, Xscape is fucking cool, and I'm like, Xscape probably is cool.
Sure.
But I still haven't played Star Fox Command yet, right? So I'm gonna go somewhere else before I go to Xscape for real. So it's a curio for me, really.
Yeah. The other segment of the game, though, is when you're traveling between planets, you have this sort of going down a tunnel, dodging things in pseudo 3D. It's a lot better. And frankly, if the game was more of that and shorter open world segments, I do think it would be a much more enjoyable experience, because as you are flying down this tube and you're dodging walls that are coming down and shooting guys on the side, it's not revolutionary. It's not great. Like, it doesn't control the greatest. You don't really have that much to do, but it definitely feels like this is the much more understandable and focused part of the game. Because as soon as you spit it out into fucking Booble Blacks, which is the next name of the next planet, and you're like, I guess I'll talk to my little radio guy and see where I gotta go next. It doesn't really work for me.
Sure. So Tucker, I have 5 games in total, or no, Jesus, 6. I have 6. Yeah, so just keep going.
Okay. All right.
I have 5 that I beat and then 1 that I've been playing. So you wanted to keep going.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit more about 3DS games, and this is the one that I spent the most time in on your 3DS. I know this is off the eShop, but unironically, I have been playing Mario Party Island Tour, which I believe is the game you pranked me with a couple episodes ago.
It was, yeah.
And I was curious to try this game because nobody really talks too much about the 3DS era Mario Party games. And I didn't really know what the thing was about this game. Because most modern Mario Party games have a gimmick to them. They have something that sets them apart from the rest. Yeah. And the gimmick of this game I actually found surprisingly compelling. And I've played this game for like 4 hours, which is more than I expected to want to put into a game
Probably
like this.
More than I played it for.
Well, you had like almost 20,000 Mario Party points on this game, which I then spent in the shop. So I unlocked all the bubbles for you, buddy. You don't get the pleasure of unlocking those yourself.
I was saving those for Mario Party Retirement.
But I played a lot of this game, and as I played more of it, I have come to appreciate what makes it different from the other Mario Party games more than I expected to. Do you have any thoughts on this game?
That I remember? No, not really.
No. Okay, sure.
You just keep talking, and I'll intercede as necessary.
Fair. So I am not.
I might have to step in.
Experienced with Mario Party. The classic Mario Party games of the N64 and the GameCube are ones I've never touched in my life.
Sure.
I played a round of 8, a round or 2 of 10, and then I've put in a reasonable amount of time to Superstars and Super Mario Party on the Switch.
Yeah.
So this is my first time, like, focusing my own brain on a Mario Party game. And what sets Mario Party Island Tour apart from the rest is that each board, there's like 7 boards in the game, is a different game mode, ostensibly. Right. And I find that to be kind of compelling because I never really found many other Mario Party game boards or mini games or much about those games to be compelling in their own right. But when you take each board and you give it its own objective and own gimmick that sets it apart from the rest, while they're not the greatest formed things and they're certainly only fun once or twice, that's how much I was going to play any Mario Party board. So I appreciate hopping onto a board and be like, oh, this is the point of this board, and there's no other board that's like it. The one that really sticks out to me is this one called Bullet Bill's Bonsai Barricade, something like that, where you are going up a very short path, but there's a Bonsai Bill side on everyone's dice, and if you roll the Bonsai Bill side of the dice, Bonsai Bill will shoot across the map and knock everyone off who's not hiding in one of the caves. So it's a very interesting risk versus reward thing where you can choose to keep going or dip into one of the caves at the cost of essentially 2 movement points across the board to be safe from when Bonsai Bill goes by, or the chance that Bonsai Bill goes by. And that I found to be really compelling. It's like, oh, actually, it makes it stick out way more than any other Mario Party board I've played.
Yeah, so you're bringing it back to me. You're bringing me back to the 2013 when this game released.
Yeah.
I remember having a median amount of fun with the game, and I think the problem with Island Tour is just kind of what the problem with all of ND Cube's Mario Party games for the most part ended up being, which is that they sort of sacrificed depth for breadth. Sure. And what I really want to spend more time with is the GameCube Mario Party games. I only have Mario Party 7 of those. I would really like to get Mario Party 5 or 6, which is considered to be the best ones. Wherein Hudson really... What?
What about 4?
4 is not supposed to be...
That one?
It's not supposed to be that good.
So?
Well, the reason
you and I just went halvesies on a copy of Hey Pikmin, you motherfucker. That doesn't stop you.
well, yeah, but there's nothing else like Hey Pikmin. There's so many games like Mario Party.
Fair.
What I mean to say is... What Hudson did best, as I've come to learn from people like Josh Thomas, who for some reason love Mario Party, is that what Hudson did is they said, let's take a couple really complex and deep boards and add in day-night gimmicks and the orb systems and everything, and make it a rich, really, 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 really replayable experience. Even Mario Party Superstars, which frankly I've put a lot of time into since the game came out, because Jean loves that game, my sister loves that game, we played it.
Maybe your most played Mario Party?
Definitely my most played Mario Party. Even those, it's there a little bit. The idea that just make the gameplay rich and replayable. The problem with Island Tour, and you said it, and I remember this myself, and being sort of the review knock against it, is that there's a lot of interesting board ideas here, but there is no reason to keep going back to them, which is further shoestrained by the fact that you're on 3DS. And even though it does have download play and everything, for people with 3DSs and download play is way harder to accumulate even than 4 people with Wii remotes and a gamepad or whatever to play on Wii U at the time. Like if this had been a Wii U game with a little bit more budget behind it and a little bit more content, it probably would have been more important. But as it stands, it is, like most of the handheld Mario Party games, kind of an interesting digression that doesn't really go anywhere or mean anything.
Yeah, I understand that from the long-term Mario Party perspective of wanting it to return to form, and a lot of people having a lot of reverence for those GameCube and N64 Mario Party games. But again, I've never played them, and I'm experiencing this series in an unconventional order. And I'm interested. I'm really excited to play 1 through 3 when they come to NSO. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. That's something we can get people in online. I don't necessarily think it's Nintendo's problem that it's harder to get 4 people with 3DSs in this day and age, because it certainly wasn't that back in the day. And this has the lowest bar to entry of those games, which is if someone has a 3DS, they can play the game with you. They download and play, which I really respect. But
I think the thing is just like think about what Mario Party's intention is.
Yeah.
Why put that on 3DS? Why not make Mario Party GBA is interesting because it is designed around single player. Now, obviously, that's way different because you got to fucking link cable up with people to play on GBA or whatever.
Sure.
But the idea was like, hey, what are handheld games for the most part? They're intimate experiences, so let's design a more intimate experience. It just felt like ND Cubed was making these games yearly, and they're splitting them across 2 systems to the point where there was no real accumulation of ideas in something bigger. Like Mario Party 4 might have been sparse on GameCube, but Hudson made another one the next year with the same engine and improved it and rolled in.
And then 2 more.
Right. But ND Cubed was like, let's just fucking throw shit all over the place.
Yeah.
And it didn't build to anything.
No, that's probably true. But also, this is the only one of their games that I've really played, so I can't personally attest that. Though I will say that the shorter boards and the more concise nature of this does feel like it is geared towards a handheld experience. Like, some of these boards are 20 minutes long, and I found that to be satisfying, because part of my problem with Mario Party, and the reason I've never gotten fully into it, is because once I play a full, hour, 70-minute long game of Mario Party with a couple of friends, I'm fucking exhausted. That runs my Steam down. But the other part of this game is a single player mode. And I use that word very lightly. That phrase very lightly. Bowser's Tower is a series of 30 mini games that you play as you watch the same cutscene of your character and Toad walking upstairs to a tower and then seeing bubble forms of the Mario characters go, and then you choose a minigame.
Right.
And then you do that 30 times. And the only interesting thing that this has going for it is that every 5 minigames, there is a boss battle, which I think is really interesting. And I wish that those had been played into way more. And frankly, I'd love to see those in future Mario Party games, where the boss is Gooba Tower. The boss is Chain Chomp. It's King Bob-omb. It's Womp. It's whatever. And there's a minigame only for this campaign that is designed around you trying to damage the boss. And they're not like insanely different from other minigames, but it's just the idea that it's a boss battle using minigame mechanics and they're exclusive to this mode, I think is really unique and super compelling in terms of the fact that they actually feel like there's design intent going towards them, because they're supposed to be these milestones in this tower mode. Yeah. Because I don't like Mario Party boards, and I don't like the minigames. So there's not that much going for me when it comes to Mario Party. But I was just surprised that they're not great. But I'm like, oh, these are actually kind of sticking out in my head. It's like maybe kind of memorable.
Yeah. I'm tired of talking about Mario Party.
That's fair. Where are we going next?
Do you want me to...
let's hand it off.
Yeah, I'll throw in a game there. I finished...
Every 3 games, I'll let you talk about one as a treat.
I finished Tunic. Yeah, Tunic is a game that I was super excited about before it came out, and having played it, I should say, by the way, I got the game early, and that was a cool experience because I was playing in a pre-release environment. It's a game all about secrets and discovering shit, so we actually had a Discord set up for everybody that had the game early, so you could work together to unravel the secrets of the game, which is a really interesting approach to almost like recapturing that Zelda NES feeling of like dicking around with your friends and figuring out all the secrets and everything. Mm-hmm. So that was already cool. But then I put the game down and life got in the way and other games came out. But I circled back and finished it. And I think Tunic is a really, really interesting game. I think that it is brought down centrally by its combat for me, mm-hmm. which is Souls-like, and this is Dark Souls is an explicit influence on the game. So this isn't one of those cases where I'm like, it's the Dark Souls of Zelda games. No, this game is explicitly influenced by especially Dark Souls 1. Yeah. And
God, fuck. Oh,
yeah.
Dark Souls 1.
The thing for
sorry. Just think about Dark Souls 1 for a second.
The thing for me, Tucker, is that that's just not the sort of combat experience I'm looking for when I'm playing a game like this. Yeah. And what I love about Tunic is the puzzle solving and the sort of poking around in this little world and figuring out its secrets and figuring out how to progress, and that's all lovely. And it's bathed in this really beautiful art style, and there's something around every corner, and it's so satisfying when you figure out how to progress in a game that is not adversarial towards its player, but completely hands off. Of you wake up on the island as you do in Hyrule in Zelda 1, and you're off to your own devices, and I think that's really effective.
Hyrule's not an island in Zelda 1. You might be thinking of Koholint Island from Link's Awakening. That might be a more apt comparison.
Well, I was thinking more of the fact that you are on an island in Tunic, but the island is much like Hyrule in Zelda 1. But I don't know how to speak. I'm not a college educated boy like you.
I'm a college educated boy who was taught that Hyrule is not an island.
Oh boy. But the point is, I think this is where the game excels. Yeah. When we get into the combat, especially when you get to the last hour, I just don't have the mental stamina to get through the combat challenges, because the game suddenly becomes, and Sarah was saying this in Discord, we were chatting about when I beat the game, becomes you gotta go fucking crazy to beat the game. You gotta know these enemy patterns, and you're gonna be put into monster closet, huge boss. And to me, the real success of the game is the exploration. It's not necessarily combat.
Yeah.
So for the last hour of the game, I turned on the no fail mode to beat it, because I could do this, but it would take 5 more hours of me figuring all of the boss patterns out.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not why I'm playing Tunic. So in the end, I think it's a really good game, and the game is soon to come to PlayStation 4, 5, and Switch. And I really do implore people to play it.
The PlayStation Switch?
I really do implore people to play it, because the world is so lovely, the atmosphere is so great, the exploration is excellent, the puzzle solving, the progression of items, all of that.
Yeah.
And if you do vibe with the combat, I think it'll be a home run for you. But if you don't, you can route it. You can use the accessibility functions to get around an annoying boss. I just wish I didn't have to. So that's kind of how I felt about Tunic by the time I beat the game.
Yeah, and that's actually something that's interesting. Is I don't know how I haven't played this game yet. I don't know exactly how I would feel, because I'm more attuned to Souls combat than you. I've beaten 2 of the Souls games, and I put I think a little more time into Elden Ring than you did. But the combat of the Souls games is not why I love those games. It is the exploration, is the world. That applies to most games for me. If you've been watching our channel, you know that I'm not exactly the gameplay first guy. I'm a world guy. I'm a story guy, and it is that exploration that really draws me into my favorite games. And it sounds like Tunic really does excel at that. So I'm excited to try it eventually. But maybe I'll enjoy the combat a little more than you. But I'm the kind of MF to turn on no fail mode at the very beginning of the game, so I never even have to worry about that.
I will say, Tucker, I think the difference, though, and knowing how you beat the Souls games, is that you cannot level grind. You cannot get stronger. You must get better. Better is the only route forward. And for me, that only works if we're talking about a platformer or a shooter. If it's any other genre, I can't do it. I'm very good at platformers. I'm very good at shooters. I am not good at third-person action games.
What's the hardest platformer you've played?
The one that comes to my mind most recently is Cyber Shadow. But the hardest platform I've ever played, I'd have to think about.
Sure. Well, you come back next episode. Sure. You have to remember this. No.
I'll think about that. I don't know.
Let's use a nice segue, though. Because you talk about Tunic, which is Finji's magnum opus currently, but I'm talking about their real magnum opus.
Chicory?
That's a game. No, great game. But not their best game, in my opinion. Their best game, their most unique game, at least of what I've played so far, is a little game called Wilmas Warehouse. A game that didn't get much buzz when it came out. Finji really didn't come into the public limelight until Chicory and Tunic. But Wilmas Warehouse is a game available on Android, on iOS, on Steam, and on Switch. On Steam and Switch, it costs $15. On mobile, it costs $5. And it's a game where you play as Wilmot, you're a little square guy with a little face, and you go around a warehouse organizing your boxes and as they are delivered to you, and giving them to people who request, hey, I want a banana. I want a block with a star on it. Right. I want a bricks. I want a martini, whatever the hell it is. They're all just little representations of items. A lot of them are abstract. It's stripes, it's polka dots, it's whatever. It doesn't really matter. But it's such a free-form game that the only gameplay mechanic is that you can pick up a bunch of these blocks and rotate them and place them where you want, and you upgrade your guy as you go along. You get stars for doing a little better, delivering things faster, and over the course of the game, you expand your warehouse a little bit, and you gain a lot more appreciation of how your own organizational system can be used as a gameplay mechanic.
Yeah.
And what really compelled me about this game is that sense of progression. Starting off with 4 or 5 different kinds of items, and having big pillars in the way of your warehouse, you have to sort of manage around these pillars and get to know what's like picking things up, get a handle on the controls, because they're not perfect on mobile, but I certainly got a handle on them, after playing this game for 8 hours. And by the end of the game, when you have a gigantic fucking warehouse and 200 items to sort through, and you just come up with your own organizational system, I was severely addicted to this game. Like the game is split into 3 modes. It's delivery phase, when a truck comes and dumps off like 20 blocks for you to sort. There's the like request phase or something, where 3 guys at the top of the map are like, hey, I want a bananas, I want a star, I want whatever. And you have to go through your warehouse, find it, pick it up, deliver it to them. And the faster you do that, the more stars you get. And then there's the stock take phase, where infinite time, just organize your warehouse. And I would sit there every stock take phase for an hour and a half and organize my fucking warehouse and make sure it was organized by color and make sure my rows were the right space apart. And for some reason, that really, really appealed to me, and it's one of my favorite games I've played this year.
Yeah, I really would like to play it a lot. It was a game that I'd seen that key art around.
So had I, because it was on like the Switch eShop or whatever.
Definitely. It might have even been on Game Pass for a while or something. But
maybe. Oh, that sounds right. Yeah.
But I never gave it the time of day. But what you've been saying about it, I really am quite interested. I've been playing this. I got so many things. I got so many fucking irons in the fire that I haven't gotten to it yet. But I really would like to, because I think Finji makes incredible stuff, and what you're saying about the game is all the right things about it. And you also you sent me a picture when we were hanging out one night of the dialogue. And I think that the sort of personality of the game is so funny. The sort of like, I haven't played the game, but it seemed like some sort of like corporate commentary or capitalist commentary. And I think that's really cute and clever. So I will certainly be playing this one when I get a chance to. Yeah.
Yes, and I guess I recommend getting it on mobile because it is a third of the price.
Yeah, I think I'll do that.
And not that the game's not worth $15. But I don't even, frankly, no fucking clue how this game would control on a controller.
Sure.
Because the touch controls are very simple, of dragging your finger over the blocks you want to select, double tapping your guy to release them, double tapping him to pick up everything that's touching you. Like there is a good control scheme there, but also sometimes you're slipping around and your finger gets in the way, and so like there's pros and cons, and it might be great on controller, but hearty thumbs up for me. I didn't expect to like.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play more games on this fucking thing anyway, having played Point P and then Before Your Eyes, both on my phone.
Yes.
We were actually talking about this, exploring Netflix games some more. I want to do that, but I also want to check out some other stuff. I also downloaded Mario Kart Tour.
Haven't played it yet.
No, I haven't. I played it back when it first came out. I'm like, this doesn't do it for me. But apparently, not only do they add shit to this game constantly, they just removed the entire gacha system from the game. It's completely gone. So I want to give that a shot too. But
I do quickly want to talk about another game to continue this segue.
Sure.
The first game designed by Adam Saltzman, the founder of Finji, is a game called Cannibal, which is the first endless runner game, ostensibly. I mean, I'm sure there are other games that inspired this, but Adam Saltzman made this game for a game jam in like 2 days or something like that, and it's a game where it's an endless runner game. You are an office guy, and you run across the tops of office buildings, just tapping to make the jump, and making sure you're doing it at the right time. You don't diving through a window, jumping off a thing, and there's this alien war going on in the background with explosions and ships, and it's ridiculous. There's not really a story, but I really like. I think it's a good game. It's not my favorite, but it's obviously such an influential game because the endless runner genre is one of the mobile genres. It's Temple Run and Jetpack Joyride and all these games that me and my brother played for hours and hours and hours when I was a kid. But I didn't know that what they came from was this game that this guy made in a couple hours, just seeing if he could have it endlessly generate and having it just be high score reflex based.
Yeah, I didn't recognize by name, but when I looked it up, I think I played this because I used to play a lot of games on my Kindle Fire when I was a kid.
It's certainly possible that was on there.
Yeah, and I used to give away a free game every day. And when I was looking at the Google Images, one of them was like Cannibal HD at Kindle Fire, or whatever. So I'm pretty sure.
Like the icon, you're like,
I'm pretty sure.
That awakens a memory.
I'm pretty sure I played that. But yeah, it is very interesting to go back to the sort of like what has become such a ubiquitous genre, like its prototype.
Yeah.
Especially from a modern standpoint. You know, there's there's few games. I was having a conversation with a developer about this. There's few games that are like modern, ubiquitous design influences. Like Dark Souls 1 is one of them, or I guess Demon Souls, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, and then something like this too. It's just quite interesting. The games that become sort of revolutionary, but aren't from the 80s and the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Or the early 2000s with the dawn of the internet and everything. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah.
Should I go again?
Yeah.
Let me hit you with something that I've been really wanting to do more of, Tucker, in my life, and that is play games on itch.io. And I want to hit you. Can you hear me?
I can. I'm just counting how many games.
No, that's totally fine. I got nervous for a second. I got nervous because nothing makes me happier than seeing my words in your eyes. But I've always wanted to play more games on itch.io.
Yeah, because we are pitching calling this the Itchy episode.
Yeah, because I have written in the past this idea that like we are losing sense of what indie means with so many indie publishers and games that are deemed indie that have multi-million-dollar budgets and backing from platforms and everything.
Yeah.
I read
Xbox backing Cuphead, PlayStation backing Stray, saying fucking Tetris Effect at the goddamn.
That's the one that broke me, and it's just it's this sort of thing of like, I can say this all day, but I need to also put my money where my mouth is and my time where my hands are.
As long as you wash the money first.
No, I
don't get sick.
I like to just pop a nickel in my mouth and taste it all. You know what I mean? But so I've started doing this, and I played 2 games on itch since we recorded last. I actually there's another one I played very briefly called a Meganaut because I bought the bundle for Ukraine. And I'll just give this 1-sentence pitch for a Meganaut. It's basically it's sort of like a procedural reinterpretation of Star Fox SNES. And it's quite interesting. It's a very low budget, very fun project made by a couple of guys. You can even play it in Google Cardboard VR. I think it's quite interesting.
Huh.
It's pretty bare bones, but it's a really cool concept, especially someone who loves Star Fox. But the 2 that I really put time into and bought individually, and I'll talk about them together because they're both quite short. The first is called A Red Boat, and I want to quickly get the name of the guy who made this game because when I talk about these
Jeff Bezos?
Not Jeff Bezos. When I talk about these itch games, I want to make sure that I'm also able to
Epstein?
Certainly not. I want to make sure I can also shout out
John Wayne.
Here we go. This is a game from, I believe his name is Peter Kula. I'm not good with foreign names. It's Piotr, which I believe is Peter Kula, who made this game called...
That's the dumb fuck American. I doubt that he would pronounce his own name that way.
Right. So I apologize, Mr. Kula. But I played your game, A Red Boat. And what this is, it's about a 35-minute narrative adventure where you play as a red boat. And you're in...
I like games that aren't false advertising. Tetris Effect? What the fuck does that mean, you know?
That's funny. And the idea is that you're just this boat, and you move around with the arrow keys. It might be WASD. I don't remember. I think it's WASD.
Doesn't matter.
It
literally doesn't make a difference.
And you're in this ocean that is endless. But not the Endless Ocean. That's a different game. And you're bumping into rocks, and you're finding little parcels that have...
Gotta love a game with parcels. First game that I remember with a parcel is Pokemon Gen 4, where your mom gives you a parcel to deliver to your rival.
Yeah, it's got a town map in it, sure.
Yeah, it's got 2 town maps.
Great point. And then Barry's like, oh, my fucking shovel of a mom gave me 2 maps. Why don't you take one? But no, the idea of the game is it's very sparse in terms of design, and you're just finding these little packages in shipwrecks. And as you read them, you begin to develop this narrative about this naval conflict going on, and this this ship delivering mail that's caught in the middle, and sort of you're reading these letters that are sent between 2 people, one on this postal ship, and sending them back home to the family. Yeah. And you start to realize that maybe that this is maybe a story of some great sadness. And maybe who you're...
Well, I mean, presumably everyone's dead, so...
Yeah.
By that metric, already kind of sad.
And maybe who you're playing as driving the boat. And this is based on inference, but it's there for you to pull out of the narrative. Yeah. It makes this journey even more intimate, for as sort of distant as it may feel, just picking up these letters. You can beat the game in about 30 minutes.
Sure.
It's pay as you want. I think I paid like $5, and I thought it was a really interesting narrative experience. I think the gameplay's a little bit
Yeah.
meandering because sometimes you're just floating around for a good 3 minutes until you find a another parcel, and everything looks the same.
Yeah.
It's sort of the rocks repeat and the water texture is the same. So I was getting just a little bit frustrated because I felt like, okay, I don't know where to find the next one. But it was
Yeah.
always at that precipice of frustration that I found the next box.
Sure.
And we're talking about 40 minutes of game time, and the vibes are good, the physics engine is nice, and the narrative I think is compelling. So I'd consider giving it a shot. A red
That
boat.
sounds great to me. Yeah.
Check it out. And then actually, I'll say the other one because you have so many fucking games.
No.
You want me to go? Okay.
Might as well.
Okay. The other one, and I just played this one last night.
I can also just talk for 4 games after. This doesn't really make a difference.
The next game, and I want to get
like a little narrative through line.
Here we go. Here.
2 itchy games.
Here it is. 2 itchy games. This is a game called Folds of a Separation. From
Oh yeah, I saw you retweeting this. I need to play this. This is so fucking cool, man.
It comes from Studio Oleomingus.
Oh god, yeah.
Oleomingus. Oleomingus. So this is a game full of separation.
Sounds like a Star Wars character.
Yes. It is
Glupshit and his buddy Oleomingus.
It is a short, again, similar length. I think I beat it in about 30-40 minutes. Puzzle game. And the gimmick is very simple. You're basically walking across mazes. And the mazes are split in half down the middle. And when you right-click one half of the maze, it flips to being a different maze. But you can only flip the half you're not standing on. So the idea is you have to basically move back and forth to flip the halves of the mazes in sequence to make the full route for yourself out.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
And kind of keep it in your memory, like where the paths connect and stuff like that. Yeah.
It is very simple, but it is so fucking frustrating. But here's the thing. First of all, there's a hint system that'll basically tell you where you need to go next. So you can completely mitigate the frustration, which I had to do on the final puzzle of the game. But I say fucking frustrating in a good way, because the game, and this is not a spoiler because they spelled out explicitly on the itch page, and then in the you download
spoilers for the itch page.
When you download the game, you also download what's called the editor's or the author's note, which is basically like an essay and then a couple verses out of it's a war cry or a battle cry. I forget exactly what culture it's from. It's about wrongful incarceration, and it's about sort of the effect on the psyche of being distant from people and from socialization when you're incarcerated.
Yeah.
And so the frustration of feeling like I can't keep the mazes straight in my mind, I can't figure out where to go next, I'm moving in this sort of cyclical, nonlinear manner, is the intent of the game.
Sure.
The intent of the game is the expression of the sort of mental exhaustion of being trapped. And I think that it's a really effective expression of that you can, on a gameplay level, also circumvent if you get too frustrated. But I think part of the game is feeling that. So again, it's the sort of thing that you wouldn't be able to express in any other scale of title. But I think in the context of this game, it is so effective. And the game is just beautiful. It's so inventive visually. So I really recommend it. It's another pay as you want. For me, $5 feels like a good amount to give people. So that's usually what I put into these titles. But another one that I definitely highly recommend. You can play both of these games in 90 minutes easily. So
sure. Yeah, I also, completely separate from you. Yeah. I bought my first itch package as well and played my first game from itch this past week.
Yeah.
I got an older bundle, one that was released from a game jam in Austin, Texas, from 2016.
Go Longhorns.
2015, I believe. Woo, yeah, okay, I don't give a fuck about the Longhorns. And I played an itch game made in corroboration with. Is that the right word?
No.
Collaboration.
Yes.
Collaboration. Coronation. Keita Takahashi, creator of Katamari Damacy, and Adam Saltzman, the guy who made Cannibal and founded Finji. And the two of them worked together to develop a game called Alphabet, which is a game that is as Keita Takahashi of a game as you can possibly get. And I want to talk more about Keita Takahashi somewhere down the road. What a fucking character. This
Very
guy.
cool guy.
But he made a game. The two of them made a game together called Alphabet, where can only be played on keyboard for a very specific reason. Is you control a couple letters. You know, they have little funny faces. They make little babbling baby noises. It's a Kid Hakahashi game. And you're trying to get them to the end of the level. You know, hopping over some hills. There's some things to roll over and stuff. But the only control is holding down a button to run and letting go to jump. But each letter is only controlled by the corresponding key on the keyboard.
That's cool.
And there's 10 races, I think. And you go from having 2 or 3 letters to the entire alphabet of 26 letters at the end of the last race. And it's not a game that is intended to challenge you. It's not a game that's intended to have any real mechanics or progression. It's just the idea of controlling so many fucking characters by mashing your hands on the keyboard, because each one only controls that one specific character, and you're trying to get them all to the end as quick as possible. So it's a game you can play with as many people as you can get their fingers on the keyboard. But it's just such a unique concept that uses the entire keyboard simultaneously. So I was getting my hands, I was going like this, and I was sliding around the keyboard, just trying to, okay, so P's all the way in the back, let me try to get one finger over there to make sure that he catches up. And it's one of those things that takes a really creative mind to come up with, because it's not particularly like mechanically engaging.
Right.
It gets pretty frustrating at the end because you don't have enough fingers to reach all the keys. So
sure.
you gotta dance over here and dance over there and make sure that this guy's in the back, so we gotta make sure it catches up. But it was really, really fun to just download. It took me 15 minutes to beat all 10 races. And just this one single idea that can only be conveyed through this specific controller, which is the keyboard, and through video games, and through this short experience developed by a couple of guys.
Yeah, I obviously haven't played it. I would like to, but you reminded me of this thing I saw on Twitter last night that I want to show the camera. From the
audience.
From the guy who made Moving Out.
Sure.
And your idea about using every letter being controlled by each key on the keyboard reminded me of this. So take a look at this. You play. I don't know if people can see it, but it's fucking blurry. But I'll link it. But you play as a hand. You're a severed hand, and the way you control the hand is by moving your fingers on the keypad to mimic the fingers of the hand you're playing as in the game. So to move yourself forward, you have to. Here, can I make this easier to see? I might just include a link, and I might just give you a link to include in the description.
Sure.
But here, I'm going to turn off my ring light. It's going to make it easier to see.
Okay.
Yeah. The idea... Come on, camera. Look at that.
I see the hand. There's a hand in the game. Okay, that's what we can't see.
Yeah. Fucking A.
It's fine.
The webcam doesn't work. The point is, you're playing as a severed hand. You're playing as a hand from the wrist up.
Oh.
And it walks as a spider.
Cousin it, yeah.
And it walks as a spider, and to control the fingers, you are moving your fingers along the touchpad.
On the trackpad. Yeah.
Which is
So how can you even play that with a mouse, or do you have to have a trackpad?
You have to have a trackpad, I'd assume.
Okay, well, still, that's great.
And that is it's a super clever idea.
Is this a game I can buy?
It's not out yet.
Fuck!
Yeah. But I love that idea so much, and
absolutely.
You just reminded me of it, so I wanted to shout that out.
Yeah. But that was my itch experience. The bundle had a couple other games in it. I haven't really given much of them else a shot, and the other ones that I have played on. I don't really care to talk about.
I want to tell you. I want to play what's called Neum. That's in that bundle.
Neum.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy that bundle soon.
An itch game developed by Ojiro Fumoto, who made Downwell and Point B. A game that basically has no information on the.
I hadn't even heard of it. I love Ojiro Fumoto's work so much, and I hadn't even heard of that game.
Yeah. I've got another game actually here. Two more games that kind of fit in this wheelhouse.
Sure.
Which is small digital only games that are playable through a web browser, and I will include the link to both of them in the description. Sure. And I highly recommend both of these. I've come a lot more through these itch experiences, through these smaller games, to experience or to enjoying experiences that are designed to be very short, that are just one idea, creative vision, executed for someone to try out.
Yeah.
And using the interactivity of video games as a medium to mess around. So you and I both recently, and we might be able to talk about it, we might not. We both played Immortality, which we both say is one of the best games of the year. Sam Barlow's current most recent game. He also did Her Story and Telling Lies, but his first game was a browser text-based adventure game released in 1999, so a very long time ago. Before both of us, this game's older than both of us. It's a game called Isle, and it's just a text window, and you get one block of text, one little paragraph that's like, you're a guy, you're going to the grocery store, and you're a little bit sad, and you're walking down the aisle. There's a woman slightly down the aisle, and you turn to your side, and you look at the pasta shelf, and you choose some gnocchi as a pasta off the shelf, and that reminds you, man, I haven't had gnocchi since Rome, and that's all you get.
Sure.
And I'm sort of paraphrasing there, but I think I got all the points down. And then there's just a empty text box where you can type whatever you want in, and it's text adventure game command, so it's go left, do what use simple 1 or 2 word commands, but there's like 200 opportunities in this game, and it's taking the idea of a text-based adventure game, something like Zork, where all you can really do is go left, go north, enter door, very, very, very simple things, but just like whatever you can kind of think of that this guy could do in this scenario, type it in the box and see what happens. And sometimes it doesn't work, but sometimes I was like, what if I just screamed really loudly? And I typed scream loudly, and then it tells a short little story, gives you a response. I screamed at the top of my lungs, releasing the anger that I felt from recovering this memory, and everyone in the grocery store turned and looked at me, and I was escorted out by the security or whatever. And I was like, they thought of that. Interesting. Cool. I'm like, what about jump? What about climb the shelf? What about smash my hands on the ground angrily? What about think back to my past or remember my childhood or something like that? Like, you can really get creative with this idea, and as you do that, you sort of uncover this narrative, as was with Immortality, but through more text-based, using your brain to sort of piece together what could I do. This story of this guy who maybe lost his wife a couple years ago, and the last time he was with her, they were in Rome and sharing a plate of gnocchi, and some great calamity occurred, and he's had this trauma ever since. And it's a really interesting piecemeal way of uncovering a guy's past non-linearly through just whatever you can come up with. And I only did 20, 30 options because I was doing it during class, but I found it to be really, really compelling.
Yeah, I'd love to play it. I think Sam Barlow's a fucking genius, so I want to go back into his back catalog for sure.
Yeah, and we have Telling Lies on PS Plus, so we can both play that. But
yeah, maybe the first game I actually used PS Plus for.
You played Stray.
That's true. I did play Stray. Second game.
Yeah. But I also played another game that is exclusively in the browser, a Pico 8 game developed by Sam Millard, I think. Something Millard. Let me make sure I'm getting that right. I don't want to... Oh, Jesus. This is not a good look for me.
Is this fucking Luigi?
Josh Millard.
Is this the Luigi smoking the cigarette game?
Yeah, so Josh Millard he's made a bunch of games, but really the only one I've put some time into is a game called Onuigi, which is a nice play on words, combining Luigi's name with the feeling of ennui, which is just something is not quite right, and life isn't exactly the way you want it to be. And Onuigi is one of the most fascinating video game experiences I've ever had, because you play as 8-bit Luigi, like basically his exact sprite from Super Mario Brothers on NES, and you're wandering through the crumbled remains of the Mushroom Kingdom from Super Mario Bros. 1.
Cool.
So you've got some pipes, you've got the little bushes in the background. It's the brown blocks that make up most of Super Mario Brothers, and you only have 3 things you can do. You can't jump.
Sure.
Because Luigi's too sad to jump.
Sure.
You can slowly, very slowly, walk left and right. That's pretty normal. You can press down to take a drag off your cigarette, and it plays this animation where he goes.
Okay.
And then he looks kind of dejected. Or you can press up to ruminate. And what this does is it cycles through 100, 150 different text boxes that pop up like a little memory, and it's just Luigi thinking about his life and how he's not quite sure that what he and his brother did in Super Mario Brothers was the right choice.
Sure.
And how they did some pretty fucked up things, and how maybe Mario isn't quite right in his mind. And it's like, it's just, again, non-linearly, they're displayed randomly. So whenever you press up, it picks a random one.
Yeah.
Non-linearly, sort of uncovering Luigi's psyche, and like, what does he think about these things, and why is he so sad and disappointed? And you don't figure out exactly what happened. Like, there's not a narrative to uncover there, but the narrative is that Super Mario Brothers 1 happened.
Yeah.
And now he's just like, man, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. And like, that's just a very interesting subversion of what you expect from a video game, because you can't express this through just a video, because being able to choose when you press the key to like have him ruminate, having it be randomly generated, it allows you to like sort of feel like this is just happening in the spur of the moment. And it's playable in a browser, but really, really interesting. It's got this really well written sad song that plays on loop in the background.
Cool. Yeah, I think it sounds like a very funny idea that I'm sure is more than just sort of a comical gimmick. So it sounds quite cool.
It is a comical gimmick.
Sure.
But I think through that comical gimmick, you get a surprisingly richly detailed realization of someone's psyche,
cool.
and trauma and disappointment and things like that.
Yeah, I would like to check that out. That sounds very interesting. Yeah. As Luigi might say himself. My turn?
Yeah.
Tucker, I beat another game this week.
No.
Surprise, surprise. This game is The Last of Us Part 1. Now, when I talked about The Last of Us Part 1 previously, I had played 90 minutes or so, but not beaten the game. And I'll keep it quick. But The Last of Us, Colin was saying this on Sacred Symbols, and I think he's right. And I'm not subtweeting Sarah here, but sorry, Sarah, you caught in the crossfire. If you say The Last of Us is bad, you look goofy. I believe that was Colin's direct quote. He said, if you say The Last of Us is a bad game, you look goofy.
Sure. And
I think that's true. Because I just think that The Last of Us Part 1 is an amazing achievement. Mm-hmm. And the remake, and I'll talk about that, my thoughts on that in just a second, but just the game The Last of Us, the experience The Last of Us.
Yeah. A game that both of us have already played.
Yeah.
Years ago. It's
just... It's so perfectly paced, and there is so much more going on than I remembered there being. I remembered every narrative beat, basically, as they unfolded. Yeah. But what I didn't remember is how acutely powerful some of these beats are. Sure. When you're with Sam and Henry and their relationship. Spending more time learning about what's the guy on the boat, Ishmael, as you're learning about.
Oh, he's the guy through the letters or something?
Yeah, he's the one that was on the boat when the Cordyceps outbreak started, then his boat washes ashore.
I don't think I ever did that.
Yeah, it's like the game is just so deep. And what I really came to appreciate is how awful Joel is. And I always knew that, and the game makes no bones about it, but replaying it, especially through after understanding the fury that Joel evoked in Abby.
Yeah.
And noticing...
Oh, man. Oh, you're getting me excited to replay this game, man!
And noticing how Joel acts, he is a really bad man. And even just hearing some of the throwaway text, like when you run into Tommy in the dam, and he's like, and the dam gets raided, and you go to fight, and Tommy's like, the years we spent there, they gave me fucking nightmares. You didn't keep me alive. You traumatized me.
Yeah.
And then you immediately begin a sequence where Joel is basically single-handedly killing 12, 15 guys on behalf of Tommy. Brutally.
Yeah.
It's like Naughty Dog they were so subtle until they couldn't be subtle anymore. And that's the David moment. The David sequence is fucking terrifying. It was before, it's even more terrifying now. And when Joel wakes up and you go to rescue Ellie, and he beats the fuck out of people in such a brutal way that goes beyond what he does in the rest of the game. And it's so smart. And then they pull back and Ellie saves herself. So you're always being subverted in some way or another. You think Joel's here to save Ellie, but Ellie saves herself. And then they have a moment of amazing intimacy after Joel ripped a man's kneecap off.
Yeah.
everything that Naughty Dog does is so intentional to craft an experience that reveals something about these characters, but not in the point A to B manner. There's always a complication. There's always a twist. Everything is put in just the right spot to evoke the right tension and emotion out of the player, and it is an incredible game.
Yeah.
I think that Naughty Dog, they got something in every game. In Last of Us Part 2, it's throwing an extension cord. They like the physics of throwing the extension cord. In Part 1, they really liked pushing Ellie on a pallet. There's a pallet everywhere that there's water, there's a pallet. But when you think about these things, they're so minute in comparison to the mastery of the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Especially when Ellie will even say something like, "Fuck Joel, you want me to get another crate?" Like, they know.
Yeah.
Everything, there's an intentionality that runs under the entire game that's so special. And the remake is just really good.
Yeah.
Having played it now, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of sympathy for the people that say it's not worth $70. Because ultimately, it's a restoration of The Last of Us. The way film is restored. It is The Last of Us as you remembered it, but to the best that it can be.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of artistry in achieving that.
Yeah.
And I just think that The Last of Us is an essential game, and Part 1 is one of the best games of the year, hands down.
Yeah. I'm very excited to dig into myself. I don't want to get into my thoughts on The Last of Us here, but you got me very excited to start it again.
Yeah.
God damn. Let's hop over to another of this year's PlayStation 5 exclusives. A little game called Stray.
Oh. That's not exclusive. That's why I got confused.
What? What else
it's on PC and on PS4.
You motherfucker. Okay.
No, I only say that because I've been thinking like Last of Us Part 1 is one of the marquee
PS5 exclusive.
True PS5 exclusive, but it's not even gonna be because it's gonna come to PC. So it just a point I've been chewing.
And then
on.
You're gonna sit in your room, you're like, my experience is ruined.
I'm gonna sit in my room and say, man, more people are playing this game. I hate it.
Abby's gonna play Last of Us.
Very excited for him.
Exciting.
But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so I played Stray.
Yeah.
Because I had missed out on it, not for any particular reason, but because I was traveling just as the game came out.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the time to start a game and leave the PS5 for a month and a half and come back. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And Stray is a game that I heard. I think I heard you talk. Did you talk about this game?
I did talk about this game.
Okay. Well, I knocked that out from my memory. So it happened, but it's not in here. So did it really happen? Who knows? Is a game that we all saw in that one of those PlayStation 5 reveal showcases, playing as a cat exploring this world, and what I didn't really expect was that I would be a lot more invested in the exploration of this unnamed cyberpunk world. It might just called the city or something.
Yes,
like
it's
that.
just called the city. If I remember.
And meeting these surprisingly well realized robot characters through the eyes of a character as a cat that is just not attached to this world. You are a cat. You're knocking shit over. Cat animations. I think this game is really quite excellent. I think it's not perfect.
Yeah.
But where it counts, it really, really nails it home.
Yeah, I'm interested on your thoughts principally about the gameplay because I feel like Stray is further from my memory the longer I go without playing it. Because I love the art direction. I think it's so...
Holy Christ. Yeah. Oh my god, the world's so well realized.
Yeah.
This is the most detailed fucking city I've ever experienced in my life. When you get to that last main area that's got these street corners and little tiny things that you can climb up on and end up in like sort of the upper reaches, and you can hop in like through tiny corners. Oh my fucking god, it's so fun to explore.
I love the part where it's the tree is the central pillar.
Oh yeah,
that's my favorite part. I like that the natural intersecting with the technological.
Yeah,
but I just don't think that the game is very interesting to play, and that's kind of where I came down on it. And that's why I think for me the game it's okay. I loved being in its world, but I didn't like interfacing with its world. So what did you think about that?
I don't care.
Sure.
I mean, frankly, it doesn't matter a fucking lick to me.
Okay.
Because while I was at first a little off put by the jumping only being available through button prompts that are situationally available when you're close enough to something, you can press X and you'll jump over the gap. that is absolutely the right way to do this.
Sure.
Because if you had to be a super precise cat with not knowing exactly, what can I land on this? Like, is this big enough for me? The smoothness of traversing the world through these, automated but perfectly distanced cat jumps, and slinking around the world in these really specifically laid out paths, I think that was really the right choice. Because if you had to space the jumps yourselves, then you'd be falling off of stuff. You'd hit a wall and go down. Like, it would really ruin the immersion. So I think that was really the right choice. And other than that, there isn't too much gameplay to speak of, which is maybe, I think, where your issues
that's more what I mean. I agree with you on the jumping point. I was thinking maybe you could do it like Uncharted, where it's telegraphed but there's no button prompt. But ultimately,
the only problem I had was that getting that little X button. I'm like, that little breaks the immersion. But it's not that.
Yeah, no, the jumping thing I don't view as a problem as much as, like, I think the arbitrary action escape sequences are kind of lame. I think that the puzzles are underdeveloped. That's the sort of stuff that I'm talking about, to where I didn't like that, and that was holding the game back for me.
Well, I think they're just not brought to an exceptional level.
Sure.
I think they're all good. I never felt like, this is a poorly designed puzzle. I never felt like it was boring. It was just on that edge of cleverly implemented and like designed into the world. Like, it's never like, this is the puzzle section. It's like, no, there's a barrel here, or there's a little thing you can knock over, and it feels really well integrated into the environment in that way. And same thing with those escape sections. Like, they allow a nice ebb and flow between exploration. There's not combat in this game, but running away. Well, I guess there kind of is, because you get this UV ray that blasts little guys.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't use that because there's a trophy for not using that.
Oh. Did you get the platinum?
No. I'm close, but I don't really think I'm going to. But I think that it's important that they have those.
Sure.
Because it does allow different sections to feel a little bit different. And there is more tension when you're running around away from these guys, these big clouds of little beetle guys that are coming after you, and they can take you out pretty good. But the puzzles I respected. I didn't love them, but I respected them because you're a cat and you're getting inside a little barrel and you're walking.
Yeah.
Or you're knocking something over to set up a little chain reaction, or you're using the momentum from the jump to swing something around so it's closer. Like, I think they were integrated well enough into the movement and the world to where it wasn't a problem.
Sure.
Something like Limbo or Inside, or these games that are focused on walking through a world and stopping for a puzzle, I think those are a little less interesting, because where the world isn't a puzzle, it's not interesting. But in Stray, where the world's not a puzzle, it's more interesting.
Yeah.
And most of the game is not a puzzle or those escape sequences. And it is when you're exploring and finding nooks and crannies and noticing that if there's a cloth hanging here, you can take it back to someone else who said a while ago they wanted this. And there's just enough hiding around every corner. And
definitely.
And it is so well realized in terms of the environmental detail and the artistry of that visual design. I mean, I easily consider this one of the best looking games of the year.
Yeah.
And that's really where the effort went, and I think it absolutely paid off, because that's the majority of the experience. It feels really good to go around here. The dialogue is really well written. I think the story is not exceptional, but it keeps you moving forward, and you're learning about this sort of oppressive system and the downfall of humanity and through veiled ways. And I just found it to be really, really compelling all the way through. And I beat it in one sitting. It was like a 5.5 hour game, and I only got up from the couch to eat some soup, but then I sat back down and finished it at 1 a.m.
Yeah, no, I everything you say I think is really salient. I think where it just comes down to me is if you took out the 90 minutes worth of puzzles and action, and it was just about the exploration, I would have liked the game more. But
yeah,
it's a point well taken.
Yeah.
So Tucker, I got a question for you. Do you want to talk about Splatoon 3 here?
No, not necessarily, because I think a specific discussion about that campaign is warranted.
Sure.
Plus, I've still got other stuff to talk about.
I'm playing Splatoon, so I'll say in that matter then. So I've got 2 other games. Do you want me to hit you with another
Perfect.
one? Okay.
I've got 3.
Bitchin'. I want to talk to you about the game that I've been playing now. The game I'm currently playing. And that's Shovel Knight Dig.
Oh.
Yeah, this game it's interesting because I played this at PAX in 2020 before the world fell apart.
Yeah.
And I remember playing it and thinking, yeah, this is cool. This is okay. But this is not what I'm looking for at a Shovel Knight, really.
Yeah.
And so much has happened in the last 2 years. I don't remember exactly what my complaints were, to be honest with you, but they're published online somewhere. But I felt similarly sort of middling about Pocket Dungeon. And then I got Pocket Dungeon release, and I ended up really enjoying the game. And I feel similarly about Shovel Knight Dig so far also. I'll have to put in more time. I've probably only played 90 minutes or 2 hours at this point.
Game came out last night.
Yes.
So that's okay. That's fair.
Yeah. But it's really great. It's another roguelite, but basically what it is, the game is bold enough to ask, what if Shovel Knight but Downwell? And I think that's compelling.
Finally, the question we've all been asking.
Yeah, I think it's really effective. The pixel art's beautiful, and it's the spirit of Shovel Knight, but a little bit faster, a little bit more arcadey. There's not quite that NES feeling to Shovel Knight as he got from Shovel of Hope, which is the retroactive name of that first Shovel Knight game.
Yeah.
But I quite enjoy just the length of the runs, getting back into them. What I'll be interested to notice as I play more is how I feel about sort of the persistent upgrades you gather between runs, because that's usually something that will determine my enjoyment of a roguelite, in part of why I love Point Piece so much is that you could really power yourself up between runs and spec your playstyle. But at the same time, I like Downwell a lot in the absence of that. Yeah. But it feels right now like Shovel Knight Dig is somewhere in the middle, and I'm curious to see where that lands. But I think it sounds great. I think it plays really well, and I'm just excited to... It seems like there's 5 areas that you have to get through. Obviously, pseudo-procedurally generated. There's various archetypes you run through every time, but I'll be curious to see how my thoughts on the game kind of develop by the time I beat it. So I'll report back. Not a whole lot to say about
it's certainly a game I want to try.
Yeah.
I was a very big fan of Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope. I've never actually played any other campaigns.
King of Cards is very good.
I'm sure they're good. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
I'll put my hands on that little controller and make that little shovel guy go.
Aye,
Captain. All right, what else do I have to talk about? Oh, lordy. Okay. Loco Roco Midnight Carnival is a game that I played while I was on a Discord call with you, hanging out with you. And I just popped into something that I could play in the background. And Loco Roco Midnight Carnival is a game that you don't hear people talk about, not only because people don't talk about Loco Roco, but because people who know Loco Roco don't really talk about Midnight Carnival. This is one of only 4 Loco Roco games ever. There's 2, there's Coco Reco, or Coco Rico, as you like to fucking say, and there's Midnight Carnival. Loco Roco Midnight Carnival is a shorter game, but it is not. It's a download only game from the PS3 era, but it's not a just tiny experimental game. This is a full-fledged Loco Roco platformer, but it is hard as dick. This game has really punishing difficulty, doesn't have the slow pacing and exploration focus of those 2 main games, and because of that, I don't like it very much. I think it's interesting. Sure. I think it's definitely different, and I'm glad that the Loco Roco series has something that isn't just what those first 2 games are, which are very similar. But the differences in this game come from it's a lot faster paced, the levels are a lot shorter, there's basically no exploration, and you have this ability called boing, where if you jump and then jump again, your Loco Roco will start to bounce higher and higher and higher successfully. Every 5 jumps, you'll get a little extra boost.
So the space jump in Metroid?
Kind of.
Yeah.
No. Not continuing up into the air. You have to land and jump off the ground each time.
I see.
And because of that, it means that you're always hitting X, and so you can never slow down and judge your jumps because the platforms are crumbling, and you got to keep moving. Your guy's moving faster and faster, and there's spikes everywhere, and there's little mojo guys that are grabbing onto you and pulling you up in the air, and the game is frustratingly difficult, and it's such a departure from why I love those other Loco Roco games. that it's just not for me. I do think it retains the same wonderful simple art style. It's got the same little charming characters and great soundtrack. I was jamming out. Maybe you heard me like, this song's great. But it's so different gameplay wise that it didn't really work for me.
Play that funky Loco Roco music, white boy.
Yeah, I did for Rachel the other day. We were just like hanging out in the kitchen making food. And I'm like, I got the song stuck in my head. I'm gonna play it on my phone. And she was like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's the response I'd expect a regular person to have when they hear Loco Roco music.
Oh god, it's so catchy! Holy shit! I was humming it walking around the campus the other day.
Sure.
Jauntily strolling. How many more?
And they allowed you back on campus?
Nope.
I've got I'm gonna say I have 2, because there's a game I wanted to talk about on the last episode, but I forgot to talk about it. To be honest with you.
That's fine. Yeah. You can talk about something.
Yeah, this game is called Wave Race 64.
Did you not talk about it?
No, I didn't talk about Wave Race 64. We talked about NSO on direct video. I think that's all I've said about it. So I'll keep this brief. Sure. But it's so impressive. It's so fucking impressive. The water physics in Wave Race 64 are ridiculously good, and it's just this game about slipping and sliding around and racing. And I think that it feels maybe better than either of maybe any of its other 3 main cohorts in the N64, being Mario Kart 64, F-Zero X, and Diddy Kong Racing. All of which I've played. I love F-Zero X, and I'm kind of whatever on Mario Kart 64 and Diddy Kong Racing.
Forgetting about GoldenEye Kart.
A game that doesn't exist, that's why I forgot about it. But Wave Race 64, there's just this water pun incoming, Tucker. There's a fluidity to the gameplay that I didn't expect would be captured on this hardware. The realism of the water physics that they're able to render, and the ways that your jet ski bounces off the water and you land under the surface and like break back out of it. Mm-hmm. I think it is a real technical feat on a system that a lot of its technical achievements don't really feel remarkable anymore. Yeah. But this still definitely does. I'm not sure how much I enjoy the nuts and bolts of racing, which is basically you have to slalom around the courses to get on the right side of these basically buoys, or you lose speed. Mm-hmm. I think it's okay. And I'm also not crazy with the art style. It's like Wave Race, the Mitsubishi game, and everything. Yes. And that's kind of funny and weird, but it doesn't really work for me. So I'm curious to try Blue Storm, and I enjoy Wave Race 64, but I'm not sure I'm going to put a whole hell of a lot of time into it.
Yeah, it's a game that I definitely want to try putting slightly more time into.
Not a competition.
I actually emulate more time than you. As long as I played it longer than you, that's all that matters to me. I emulated it with a friend about last summer, I think. Yeah. And I exact same thoughts as you. Yeah. Is that it's technically impressive. I'm not sure how much I actually like the racing, though it's cool. Fucking around in that little open world is kind of fun.
With the dolphin?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't get the dolphin. That's like a little cheat thing, right?
Maybe we're thinking of different areas. Doesn't matter. Keep going.
Whatever. But and also, if this game had little funny Nintendo characters that were made of jet ski bits and had funny googly eyes, I think this would be a staple franchise. But as it stands, it just feels like it doesn't feel like a Nintendo game, frankly. Which I think is maybe its biggest detriment in my eyes. I think I could get more into it if it was an interesting, unique world and wasn't actual branded things and just guys with helmets on bikes. It's like, okay, that's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, you and I. Don't we always love agreeing?
We always agree.
Yeah. Okay, how many more games do I have to talk about here? Let's talk about... Hey, let's do it. Let's talk about Roller Jump.
Okay.
Because this is a game that you espoused very vehemently in your Roll 7 rock block. Oh, Roller Jump poster.
Shout out to Roll 7 for sending that to me. Thank you.
Godspeed to them, you know. Don't send me one. I don't want it. I checked out Roller Drum because it is. No, I own it. Yeah, I forgot how I got it. I split the cost. I thought I was gonna say it's on PS Plus, but it's not. I split the cost with Tanner because you were telling us that it'd be really enjoyable. Tanner's a big fan of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, and he wanted a game to dick around in while he's very slowly but surely making his way through Last of Us Part 2. And I popped into it the other day because I wanted to just have something quick. And I played it for about an hour and a half. I don't think this game's very good. I really don't. And I don't know if it's just my inexperience with games of this style, my disconnect from the high score chasing or the speed, but I really do think that this game kind of goes against itself because I like the art style. I love this concept. Yeah. The idea of doing tricks to reload your ammo is pretty interesting, and building up the combo and shooting guys where you're going off of half pipes. I think that's all conceptually very interesting, and I do think there is a world out there where this game is really for me.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think my main problem is the fact that your character's always moving forward.
Yeah.
And always moving forward means I feel like I had barely any control over my character because I was always slipping over a thing. Oh shit! Oh, okay, I gotta get or I'd shoot off a half pipe, and instead of going up, my character would just go pew, and I would fall off a cliff and then have to respawn. And that also means that in tandem with the camera, I felt were really fighting each other because I would be going forward. I'm like, okay, trying to aim at this guy, get a couple points here, and then hit. I keep going, so I'm going off a half pipe. Now my camera's over here, so I gotta pull it back to make sure I'm focusing at the guy. And there's so much input in this game, just so overwhelming to me. Having all these fucking missiles and this beeping sound effect when the missiles are coming at you, and there's guys over there and the sniper guys, and it's just it really is too much. And I think the camera and the controls don't do the gameplay justice, in my opinion.
That's an interesting experience because I don't agree at all, and I'd be curious to see maybe because the game has very robust accessibility and assist options. It might be interesting.
Yeah, I tried a few.
You fucked around with them? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that what you're saying is a problem because I think that the experience that they're going for is one about decision making. And what the constant momentum forces you to do is make continual decisions. And what's compelling about Roller Drum, in my opinion, is the fact that you must move. Kara is going to move. So it becomes, what trick am I going to do? And it's going to become, if I need to go the other direction, maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to go towards the melee guy so I can in slow motion roll and then turn myself around and start going the other direction. It's about figuring out how can I use the environment to move exactly the way I want to. And there's an artistry to it. There's a learning curve. 100% there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
But when you start to realize, okay, what on a material level, what can a grind accomplish? Why should I grind here to start going the other way? How can I manipulate the snipers to recharge my ammo and allow me to change my direction on a dime?
Yeah.
And the lock-on camera, I found it to have no problems with. You had all the problems with it. Neither of us are right. But in my experience, I didn't have an issue with the camera because the game becomes about reactivity. It's not about sort of you're never in control of the tempo. The tempo of the game is the tempo of the game, and it's about you rolling with it, literally rolling with it. And I think that is a really interesting way to put you on the back foot, but also enable you to have an experience wherein you learn to overcome that and learn to understand how does the movement operate and how do the tricks interface with that. And once you start to figure out that really you only need the most basic tricks, you really only need to grind and flip. You can get fucking crazy with it if you want to, but when you figure out the bread and butter, it becomes a really effective experience, in my opinion, not just of score chasing, but of empowering yourself in a way similar to Doom 2016 or other sort of shooters about flow, of just figuring out how do I just demolish. And that feeling of demolishing the field is really effective. Demolishment is really effective insofar as that it doesn't have to be about score. It can be about the challenges to unlock the next level. But if you don't want it to be about the challenges or the score, you can turn off the challenges, and then you can just progress through the game in that way. And I think the way that it layers in new tools and new environmental things for you to bounce off of and react to is a really effective and different approach to this sort of game. it refocuses the sort of role of combat and tricking and puts them in conversation and forces you mechanically to be in a position where you are guiding the character opposed to fully being the character. And I think that that's an interesting approach to this sort of reactive shooter where in like Doom, every decision you make is 100% yours. And you're usually forcing yourself on the enemies. But in Rollerdrome, the enemies force themselves on you. And sort of how you have to play differently to account for that, I think is such a unique experience.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think all of this is correct, but for me, it really is only in concept. I really do think the execution of the game, in terms of its camera and the movement speed and the ways that the enemies are targeting you, really goes for me against a lot of what you're saying. Because when you're talking about the enemies, what do you say, forcing themselves on you, and not in a sexual manner, is the idea that it for me wasn't the enemies forcing themselves on me. It was the environment forcing the enemies on me in a way that really felt like it was oppressing me. Because I feel like these environments, they are very hit or miss. I thought that first area is just a bunch of wood. It's some half pipes. I thought that was fine. But then you get to this one that's like 3 or 4 stages later. That's a mall, and there's these walls, and things are not designed with like ramps in mind in some areas. And so I would be like trying to focus on the guy, and then I would just hit a wall, and that would stop my momentum, or I would fall off of something, or something would block my movement. And I felt like a lot of these areas were preventing me from getting into that flow, because if I want to focus on a guy, and I'm trying to get the camera to look at the guy, and I'm trying to get my character to go in this direction, and then the environment is fighting against me, I really felt that to be frustrating. I think, and this is very subjective. But the thing that ultimately drives me away from this game completely is all these factors converge to make this one of the most physically sickening games I've ever played. And in the frustration combined with the fact that I had to take Advil after I played this game, and I felt like I had fucking sea legs after I got off, because it was always conscious momentum and spinning the camera around all these directions. I really don't think that the game works for itself, and obviously you do disagree, but I had this conversation with Tanner, and unfortunately, well, fortunately for me, unfortunately for you, he completely agrees with me. I mean, he tried this game. He's a very big Tony Hawk's Pro Skater guy, but he played 2 hours of this game and is never going to touch it again. And frankly, I think I'm in the same boat, because even though it's a short game, and I'm over halfway through the game in terms of finishing the stages, it was only getting the level map design was getting more counterintuitive. There were more enemies that were pulling my camera in more directions, and then making my problems with controls worse, and my problems with the camera worse. And it was really just a compounding issue, because I enjoyed it. I was enjoying it at first, but it just sort of snowballed, and like, this is bad, and that thing that's bad is making this worse. Like, it really got.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I feel like I could go to the mat for it a little bit, because I think this game is really remarkable, and I just don't think that you're approaching the environment in the right way, because the game asks you to approach each environment in a different way. The mall one is a great example, because the mall one is the first real challenging part of the game, and it took me a long fucking time to beat the mall for the first time. But the game asks you to understand acutely how its ideas work together. And what's interesting in the mall is that, for instance, there's like the little humped parts in the middle of the like the bottom area, and you can jump off of those and make your way over to like the railing for the escalator, and jump from that and wall ride around the far side. And you can knock over one of the walls at one point to make another path for yourself to go up, and then acid drop down the half pipe, and then hop back up and wall ride the far left perimeter of the map. What that one asks you to do is say, how can I show that I can use these mechanics when not everything is a sloped surface? And there's a lot you can do there, because those hard edges, sure, they can become walls, but suddenly they become grind points. And so when they become grind points, they become, okay, I'm going to grind here, and I'm going to go into slow motion, flip my camera, and I'm going to shoot over there. But at the same time, that's when they also start to really up the enemy density and variety, to where you learn, okay, the guys who pop a shield immediately, well, what I have to
fucking obnoxious. Holy shit.
They're only obnoxious until you realize what I need to do is I have to get in close to one of them and go into slow motion and empty the entire clip of my double pistols, because
Sure.
Every enemy has a correct way to defeat
Weakness.
it.
Yeah, of course.
The pistols will kill their shield and they have no chance. You learn, okay, the guy who throws down the mines, I can go into slow motion off of the mines and reload my ammo and then slug shot them with the shotgun. It is like I would never say that it is not a complex game. It is a very complex game, but there's something to be said for the fact that everything is defined. Kara will roll forward. If you're on a hard edge, you will grind. If you grind along a wall, you will wall ride. If you do this, you will flip. And when you learn, okay, the guys with the swords will, or with the batons, will swing the same way. The guys with the shields will activate at the same time. The guys who drop the bombs, you can dodge in the same way every time. When you learn all those tools, it becomes about sequencing the tools and saying, okay, this is not sloped. Why isn't it sloped? Oh, it's not sloped because I should be getting my momentum from over here and then jumping off the rail and landing on that edge.
Yeah, sure.
The game is very, very intentional in every decision it makes. Does that make it beginner friendly? No. And I've had to spend a good several hours understanding it. But that understanding comes from the fact that Roll7 had a design philosophy that they've refined over these Ollie games and everything and said, we're going to challenge you to do that in a different way, in a way that you're not used to being challenged in the game. And I think there's something interesting about saying, you're going to sit down with this and you're going to learn these mechanics. And when you learn them, the feeling of empowerment as a player is so great because I can go back to that mall level and demolish it without being hit.
Yeah, of course.
And to me, that is a testament. And the clips online and this crazy scores people were getting, even in a pre-release environment, because I got the game early, I should also say that, is incredible because the skill ceiling is so high. You just have to get to the skill floor. I really think that they're...
Absolutely. I was just about to say that exact same thing. Is I think that I would never pretend to say that this game is not impressive to play. And there's obviously a way to get into this flow, to get very good at the mechanics, to learn those tools, as you're saying. And I'm sure if I got to that point, absolutely, I would love it.
Yeah.
But I think that my contention with the game's design is that skill floor I think is easily, for my taste, too high. Because I think that games that allow a player who is easing themselves in to not be hit against walls and feel like the mechanics are pushing back against them, because that was easily the overwhelming feeling of this experience, was me going, fuck, I can't believe that happened, and not feeling like it was my fault, frankly.
Yeah.
And of course, you can disagree about that, but it was constantly every level, every time I got shot, every time I died, it was like the level environment was stopping me from doing what I was wanting. The camera, the controls, the speed, the enemies, everything was fighting against me in a way that, as I said, felt very oppressive. And if there was a better lead up, if there were more ways to, because I think that the ways that you can tailor the game to your skill level are good, but frankly, I don't think they're enough, because I think that for people who haven't gotten to that skill floor, which, as I said, is too high, there isn't much driving you to get to that, because the game feels like it's fighting against you until you get there.
I disagree in part, because like you can change game speed, you can change how much damage you take, you can drop all that shit to the floor and just play it until you get it. And the other thing is, the challenge system does incentivize you to spend time in previous areas. I really think that if you just, I'm not saying you in particular, I'm just saying you as the person playing Roller Drum. If you just play
the royal you.
Yeah, the royal you. If you just play that first training level until you get every challenge, you're going to have no problem getting to them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's a sort of thing of...
I think I did.
Did you? Or okay, well then maybe the second one. If you start going for all of the challenges, the challenges ask you to flex particular skills. And when you flex those skills in these lower stress, first level, second level, whatever, you develop this acuity for the game that you can use in these tougher stages. And again, if it's not enough, you can make it so the enemies are doing basically no damage to you. You can make it so the game plays slower. The suite of assists is, I think, incredibly generous in the ways that they basically say, we made this game in one way, but we want everybody to be able to play it. And you can throw all those sliders to the minimum, and you can do the challenges and get a feel for the game. So I do think that it's about what you want to put in. And if putting the time into the game is not interesting because of X, Y, or Z, that's totally fine. But I certainly disagree with the contention that the game isn't well designed, because I think the game is well designed, and I think that it is quite admirable in the way that Roll7 decided we want everybody to have an entry point into the game.
Yeah. The reason I would push back on that a little bit is because I think the best games that have that high skill ceiling are much better at getting someone to not have that obstacle stopping them. I for these games, if whether it's high score games like Galaga or Pac-Man or older games or going up to mobile games or games that are high score based, are about that technical skill to get farther and farther, they're still very fun from the beginning.
Sure.
And I think that, and of course, that's what fun is. It's very subjective. You probably had a great time playing those first few levels, but I really wish that there was better onboarding, because I found that training stage to be frustrating. The having to nail these tricks each time, it's like there isn't a lot of flexibility there. And if there was more flexibility, if it did onboard you a little better, if the skill floor was lower and was more forgiving, I think this game could be excellent. But as it stands, I really do think that its mechanics fight against players getting involved from the start. And when you feel like you're being fought against by the game, that really is something that turns me off for a game, because I never felt like I was in control. And that's the exact opposite of why high score games are so addicting. It's I'm playing fucking Jetpack Joyride, I'm playing Cannibal, I'm playing Pac-Man, I'm playing Galaga.
Sure.
I feel like I'm in control all the time. But this game, as you said, you are not in control. Things are preordained for you, but they're preordained in ways that fight against each other, and that's why I found it so frustrating.
You cut out a little bit, but I think ultimately we're gonna circle the same drain, so we might as well just agree to disagree. But I just keep coming back to the fact that, like, I don't know how you can onboard the player any better than giving them a stage that starts out with just saying do the same tricks until you learn them, with all the accessibility options.
Because that's not very interesting. I wish that there was a training stage that taught you these tricks, but it was doing it through a way that felt like there was a little more progression. That was, maybe it was a little more linear, and you were exploring this area that isn't just a circular arena, and you have to do these exact same tricks on the things that look the exact same every time. Like, if there was, like, I think there are easily, well, not easily, I'm not a game designer, I don't know this stuff, but I think there are definitely better ways to do this.
I understand. I see what you're saying, but it's just like that. You do the first tricks. They basically say just figure out how to jump, figure out how to grind, and then that first area is just so circular. Everything is really easy to trick off of, and the enemy types there teach you everything. They teach you a guy who melees, you can perfect dodge this way. A guy who shoots at you, you can dodge this way, and you learn this is how I can reroll. And that first area is all about figuring out the core flow. I think that at a certain point, the game is going to speak to some people, and the game's not going to speak to others. And if it speaks to you, you figure out what each enemy type represents and how these enemy types sequence and how the environment asks you to not play the exact same way in every single environment. There is a real brilliance, and I just don't think that this is a poorly designed game.
Well, I disagree.
Sure,
but yeah. That's a discussion to have for another time of where disagreement of mechanics of what's actually good, or what does it speak to you or does it not. Maybe there's a middle ground. I digress. Do we have anything else to talk about here?
I have got one more game.
Okay, I can talk about one more game, but we are going kind of long here.
Sure. Well, my last game I watched.
Maybe I'll save it for next week till I beat it.
Sure, but it's very similar to the game I'm going to end with, actually, because mine's Pikmin 2. And I know yours is Pikmin 1.
Yeah.
I have finally beaten Pikmin 2, and I think it's a very good game. But it makes some choices that I think don't necessarily speak to why I love Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even talking about the lack of risk or pressure, because unlike those games, there is no finite resource to collect before you starve or can't escape the planet. It's just about finding enough treasure to repay Hocotate Freight's debt. And the game is very funny. I think it's very clever, because at the end of every day, not only is there a great intro cutscene to where all of them are triumphantly returns home and the planet's fucking decimated because your dumb boss got into big debt troubles. At the end of every day, you get a little message from your boss saying, like, oh, I'm living under the bridge today and I met this cool animal and he's my friend now. And, like, if you fucking dumbasses Olimar and Louis can find all this treasure, I should come to the planet because I could do it twice as well as you. It's cute and clever. And I think it has something interesting to say, sort of, about work. I like that.
Yeah. So does Wilmas Warehouse.
Yeah. And I ended up not minding the lack of time pressure, because it was just fun to explore. I think taking my time to figure out, okay, there's all these treasures in these caves. Let me really prepare and figure out how I want to approach challenges. Ended up being effective for me. At first, I was like, I like that pressure, but I think that the explorative focus here ended up working for the game,
Mm-hmm.
which I wasn't sure I was going to. So I was happy about that. I also think what works here is the fact that this game is fucking hard. This is the hardest Pikmin game, 100%.
Mm.
And part of that difficulty comes from the cave structure, and you spend most of the time in these caves, which are procedurally generated, basically dungeons.
Yeah.
And a lot of the treasure, because the game, when you hit 10,000 Pokos, which is their currency, when you hit 10,000 Pokos, the game just ends right there. So the goal is just about getting treasure. And in that sense, it's very replayable.
So it's like a new Super Mario Brothers 2.
Sure.
Get a million coins.
There is one very big twist to the narrative that I think it'll be funny for you to just experience. I'm not going to say what happens, but
I'm going to play the game.
The game is not only very replayable and getting all of that money, but it also has a very robust post game for a very funny reason.
Sure.
But getting that money requires you to go into these caves. And my problem with the caves is that when I think of Pikmin, I'm thinking of the natural beauty of Pikmin and the exploration.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking of very congested, partially randomly generated, mostly very dark looking caves.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't think that they really fit the spirit of why I'm playing Pikmin. I want to be in these naturalized environments that are really crafted in a bespoke way for me to find things in particular places. I don't want to constantly be in these underground areas where treasure's just on the ground or in an enemy's fucking belly, and I got to kill him to get it from him. But I'm kind of two minds of it because I think the caves also give the game a sense of challenge that you don't have otherwise. Because once you're in the cave, you either leave the cave by escaping, but you lose any treasure you found, or you get to the bottom of the cave.
Yeah.
And you need the treasure to beat the game. So it becomes this thing of like, fuck, I'm in here with 100 Pikmin, and I got to play really smart to get to succeed in the cave. And I think that is, I think that that's just a really fun added challenge. I just wish that didn't comprise the bulk of the challenge, because the lion's share of treasure you're going to find is in the caves. So I leave Pikmin 2 saying I think it's a really interesting complication of Pikmin 1. I think it does a nice job iterating upon a lot of its ideas. The new Pikmin types are not that robust, which I'm not crazy about. They're actually just, there's things called candy pop buds of Pikmin. You can throw Pikmin into them to change their colors. But the only ways to get white and purple Pikmin are to throw red, blue, or yellow Pikmin into candy pop buds to get those. But the candy pop buds are only in the caves, so these Pikmin types become so secondary. It really is about red, blue, and yellow Pikmin again. So I just think that it makes some missteps in terms of what its core new ideas are and how this sort of interface with the spirit and the exploration and the design of Pikmin 1. But nonetheless, it is still a beautiful game in the overworld, and I love the added challenge, and I think it's all great. I just wish they retooled things a little bit. In my opinion, best story, most engaging difficulty curve.
Sure.
But I don't know. I just don't like the caves. I don't think the caves really work. And I will also say, I wish I had played new play control Pikmin, because
I was about to ask. This is your first time playing a Pikmin game without pointer control.
Yeah, because the only times I've ever played new play control Pikmin, even when I was a little kid, it was only the new play control version. But I just happened to be I like GameCube, so I happened to find a copy of Pikmin 2 on GameCube and I bought it. But Pikmin just needs that pointer control, in my opinion. Yeah. And so, if the game
I wonder how much that would have affected the challenge level.
I can only think of very few enemy encounters wherein I was like, this stick is gonna drive me crazy. For the most part, the challenge is intrinsic to how the enemies attack you, not necessarily how you're able to throw Pikmin onto them. But
fair.
I think it's a very good game, but my Pikmin order is definitely 3, 1, 2.
Yeah. And I'm currently playing Pikmin 1. I don't want to talk about it too long. We are definitely going long here.
Sure.
But I played 6 hours of it yesterday. Sure. And boy, do I like Pikmin a lot.
Yeah.
Pikmin 3, I played it last year. I really, really loved that game. But I think it's really hard to go back to the other Pikmin games once you played Pikmin 3. Because it really just feels like they're not the full realization of what Pikmin can be, which I think we got with Pikmin 3. And we'll see what is reinvented in Pikmin 4. But, the things that are different from Pikmin 1 to Pikmin, sorry, because I played 3 first. The things that are different in Pikmin 1 versus what I played in Pikmin 3 just feel like something's missing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, okay, I wish I had another captain so I didn't have to walk all the way back there. Even though I didn't love the multiple captains thing in 3, it does feel like that's missing. Oh man, well, I wish there was a little more to discover here. Only having these 3 Pikmin types feels a little bit limiting. But at the end of the day, I think it's a really good game. It's impressive. Yeah. It's very unique. But that that third day clock, I think that was an interesting choice, but for me, it really does not work. It creates a system where I am fucking up something, and then currently I'm 18 parts in, and I've taken 17 days, so I am barely ahead of the curve.
You're fine.
I know 5 of the parts are optional, but I have found it the clock so fucking oppressing. The only reason I'm at the curve that I'm at is because I restart levels halfway through, because I'm like, I'm not going to get a part today. I'm not going to be able to do this. I have to restart. And that also comes from the fact that this is a game where you're babysitting 100 little fucking morons.
Yeah.
The Pikmin are dumb as rocks in this game. They walk off into water. They fall off of ledges. They run through fire. And you're like, why? Why'd you do that? And sometimes they'll just stop following you. Or they'll like go off and do their own thing. And then you're like, I thought I had 80 Pikmin. Why do I only have fucking 70?
Yeah.
This game, that's why Pikmin's so special. It's having the charm of these little guys following you. It's the unique concept of throwing them and of managing everything. But I lose like 100 Pikmin every day. They're always fucking dying. I feel so... I get a pit in my stomach every time I beat a level, because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to make this, man. And for me, that's really taking away from the fun energy that Pikmin has. So for me, that 30-day clock is not a positive.
I will say that the 30-day clock is very generous. You are going to be fine. I'll tell you that.
We'll see. We'll see.
The thing about it is, I think Pikmin 1 is fun because of the friction. I think a little bit of friction makes for good game design. And to a point. I think that the biggest thing that Pikmin improves as the games go along is the Pikmin AI. Because the Pikmin are fucking stupid in the first game. Yeah. They are even stupid in the second game. But I do think that for me, the part system both is more forgiving than you might think as you're playing the game. You will get the good ending, I promise you that. Sure. But I like the sort of veneer of challenge it gives. And there's something fun about the fucking gumbo of the veneer of complexity of the clock, the actual simplicity of the Pikmin types, and the friction of some of the mechanics is a different and successful experience than Pikmin 3. Like, Pikmin 3 is Pikmin refined 100%. Pikmin 1 is a different breed of Pikmin. And so I just like the feeling that Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 all present something different. And I don't think one supersedes the other, even though 3 is definitely the most playable of the bunch.
Yeah. And we'll see when I get to Pikmin 2. I'm going to beat Pikmin 1. Yeah. I got well over halfway through the game last night. So in one setting. So obviously I'm invested in the game. Right. It's very easy to finish a day and be like, I know exactly where I need to go. Right. So boom, we're gonna start another one, and then it is a very good cycle. That time pressure as of now, because I have not gotten the good ending yet, and I have had to restart so many times to get to where I am. Yeah. That's really my, because I understand that the AI wasn't great. This is the first time attempting this, all of that. But the clock, if that was just not there, I think I would be having 100 times better of a time.
Yeah, you might just like Pikmin 2 more than Pikmin 1 then. I mean, that's the popular opinion. So, we'll see.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that think Pikmin 2 is the best. There's a lot of people that think Pikmin 3 is the best. But those are the ones that are always competing for first place. Here's the thing. At a certain point, I don't want to talk for a community because I don't fucking know. But when I see people talking about Pikmin, it's either Pikmin 2 is the favorite or Pikmin 3 is the favorite. So, from a very narrow anecdotal perspective.
I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah. For your taste in terms of the exploration, Pikmin 2 might end up being a favorite of the entire series. I don't know. So, we'll see.
Let's go. Well, we have talked about a lot of fucking games today. Very diverse, very interesting conversations to be had. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. No community submissions. It's a fucking almost 2-hour episode. You fucking cherish what you get, you know?
Yeah.
We're probably going to be doing more of these. There's a very busy fall season coming up. And we're going to be playing a lot of games. And I still have a lot that I want to get to. And even one that I played last night that I have not talked about yet. So,
okay.
I'll keep messing around with this sweet little baby boy, and you're never getting it back, you know. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.